today. We're going to be practicing a sequence from the back of Light on Yoga, and this is a sequence on fatigue, and it's really a wonderful sequence to do when you're feeling stressed and anxious. A couple of things: it's an intermediate level practice, which means that we'll be practicing headstand, shoulder stand. Second of all, it's going to be about 30-35 minutes, but you can make it an hour if you choose, just by pausing the video when you would like to hold the pose for a little bit longer. So the first pose in the sequence that BKS Iyengar writes is headstand, is Shirshasana. So just to get ready for headstand, I'm going to add a very short downward facing dog. So you can place your hands down, and for today, extend your index fingers forwards. Your hands are as wide as your shoulders, and then tuck your toes under and raise your knees up and stretch back with your thighs and up with your hips. Let your head and neck release completely. And on your inhalation, extend downwards and push forwards and downwards with the inner edges of your hands, and then draw upwards from your outer shoulders towards your side chest, and then lengthen backwards towards the hips and thighs. And on your exhalation, press the fronts of your thighs to the backs of your thighs. The inner parts of your legs, the inner thighs, can move downwards towards your inner knees, and the inner knees can reach downwards towards your inner ankles and heels. And maintain the extension of your arms, and take 3 or 4 more breaths, and start to draw your chest towards your shins. Start to draw your collarbones towards the tops of your shins. Slow, soft inhalation. Slow, soft exhalation. Let your head and neck be quiet, soft. Let your face be relaxed. And now to come out of the pose, you can walk your feet forwards towards your hands, and bring your hands to your hips and come on all the way up. Now we'll take Shirshasana from here. So you can fold your mat in 4. If you need a wall, keep your mat all the way at the wall, like so. And you can have your hands touching the wall as well. If you do this practice facing the center of the room, and go ahead and place your mat away from the wall. You'll interlace your fingers all the way to the roots of the fingers, and then when you place your elbows down, see that your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders. You'll place the crown of your head down, and then tuck your toes under and raise your knees upwards. And as you press your forearms straight down, lift your shoulders. Lift your heels upwards towards your hips and buttocks. And then when you're ready, you take your legs up, either together or one at a time. Slightly separate your legs for a moment and reach your inner thighs upwards towards your inner heels, and push upwards through the big toe mounds of your feet. And then from there, as you get longer through your inner legs, bring your legs together. And find your base. Press downwards through your forearms. Lift upwards through your shoulders. And keep your shoulders lifted throughout. Lift your inner thighs upwards. Lift your inner shoulders upwards. And have an even extension downwards through your elbows, to your forearms, to your outer wrists. Let your head rest in the back of your hands. Maintain the lift of your shoulders. Maintain the extension upwards of your legs. And then let your face, eyes, throat, tongue be quiet. Shirshasana requires a constant vigilance,
a constant attention paid to the base of the pose, a constant lift of your shoulders upwards, and a full extension of your front thighs as they lift up, of your inner thighs as they extend and lengthen upwards, and a compactness of your outer hips and your outer thighs and even your outer ankles towards each other. As you take your front thighs upwards, draw your middle buttocks and middle tailbone in, and allow each of these actions to interact. And allow for the interaction to bring you to a place where the pose has a different level of effort, that is not such a muscular pushing and pulling, but more of an interactive understanding. Allow your breath to be soft. Allow your eyes to be quiet. And recycle these instructions and actions over and over again. Until there is an even extension downwards into your forearms, an even and balanced lift of your shoulders, and extend your thighs upwards. And now to come out of the pose, you can bend your legs and come out legs together, or straighten your legs and come down with one leg or both legs at a time. But raise your shoulders upwards as you bring your legs down, and then rest with your head down on the mat or on the floor. And then when you're ready to come on up, take your mat. Our next pose is going to be Savasana and Malasana. So you'll take whatever props that you have, and I'm going to set up in this direction. I like to have a blanket support underneath the back of the head, but you don't need to use that. And then you'll place minimally 3, maybe even 4 blankets. And notice how I have the folded edges facing the same direction away from the wall. They're ever so slightly stair-stepped on account that these blankets sometimes slip a little bit. When you're ready, you'll lie down and bring your head onto the floor, onto a blanket, and notice how the shoulders are on the blanket support like so. You can bring yourself into Halasana by rolling over, bring your feet to the floor, and if the floor is too far, you must put a chair behind your head before you begin so that you can place your feet on the chair. Once you're in Halasana, roll onto the tops of your shoulders. Bring your hands to your back. And then take your legs up, one leg at a time, both legs at a time. When we come into Savasana from Halasana, we often lose the lift of the side chest. And the pose starts to become very heavy, very weighty. So as you extend upwards with your thighs, have an ongoing adjustment to get onto the tops of your shoulders. And use your hands on your back to draw your back ribs in, so that your front body can continue to lengthen upwards. Your index finger and thumb webbing push into your lower back ribs. And then see if you can't draw your little fingers also towards the back of your ribcage. Stretch your front thighs upwards like you are working in Shirshasana. And take the fronts of your thighs to the backs of your thighs, drawing your middle, buttocks, and tailbone strongly inwards. The support of our back body is critical in maintaining this pose. Your hands are the tools to maintain the lift of your back ribs. And the middle buttocks draw in to support the lift of your legs. Reach upwards from your inner thighs to the ball mounds of your feet. And continue to lift from there. Adjust again to be right onto the tops of your shoulders. Savasana requires a constant adjusting. P.K. Sayadaw says about this pose that the moment you get into it, it starts to disintegrate. So use the tools you have in your arms and your hands. Use the tools you have in your legs and your buttocks to stack your feet above your knees, above your hips, above your shoulders. And soften your throat. Relax your neck. Relax your eyes. And let your gaze be softly looking upwards at your abdomen rather than your feet. And then from here we'll come to Halasana. You can come down one leg at a time. You can come down both legs at a time. Rest your feet either on the chair or on the floor. Have your feet together. Press the fronts of your thighs to the backs of your thighs. You can keep your hands on your back, or you can extend your arms in the opposite direction of your legs. Turn your palms downwards towards the floor. Adjust to be right up onto the tops of your shoulders once again. From your shoulders, extend towards your elbows, towards your hands. And then lift your front thighs upwards to create length in your side body. Maintain the length in your side body and take this third arm position. You can extend your hands and arms towards your feet. Take some long exhalations. And breathe into the back of your body. Breathe into your back ribs. This kidney adrenal band is where you want to direct your breath. Right at the lower back ribs. See if you can broaden that space. See if you can broaden that area with your breath. All the while maintain the length of your side body as you lift your thighs up. Extend your inner thighs to your inner heels. And you can always walk your feet a little further away, coming onto the tips of your toes and even the tops of your feet. Relax your face completely. Soften your gaze. Deepen your exhalation. And then to come out, tuck your toes under, and then you can bring your hands towards the hip side of your support and carefully come on out of the pose. Slide off your blankets. Rest there for a moment with your legs crossed. And then you'll bring your legs together and roll to your side and come on up. So the next pose on the sequence is Paschimottanasana, seated forward bend. For this variation today, it's up to you how much support that you take. If you're working with any stiffness in your back, make sure you sit up on a couple of blankets, and also take a support, a bolster or blanket for your head if it's hard to take your head down to your shins. But otherwise, you'll have your feet together. Draw your inner sit bones back. Push forwards from your inner thighs towards your inner heels, and then sweep your arms up. Exhale and bend forwards, and you can hold on to your big toes to the outer edges of your feet. Or if you are able to go further, you can hold your wrist behind the soles of your feet. Wherever you are in this pose, make sure that your head is supported. And take these long exhalations again into the back of your body, broadening your back ribs. Press your thighs strongly downwards into the floor. Push from your inner thighs to your inner heels, and broaden the ball mounds of your feet. You can use your breath quite effectively in this pose to create length in your torso. On your inhalation, press your thighs down. On your exhalation, lengthen forwards. Draw the bottom of your sternum bone to the top of your sternum bone towards your feet. And lengthen from your side ribs to your side chest to your elbows. We tend to get stuck in one or other side or part of the body, but can you lengthen your whole torso forwards, your front body, your side body, and also your back body? And with your exhalations, keep going. Keep seeking to find more length. And allow for your breath to soften some of the tightness and gripping in your back ribs. When we get stressed or anxious, so much is held in the lower part of the back. Paschimottanasana, the seated forward extension, can undo some of these knots and tightnesses. And then to come on up,
Lift your chest and then take yourself up back into Dandasana. The next pose is Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana 2. I'm going to show a couple of variations of this pose. The first one will be this direction. This is an unsupported variation. So notice that I take my feet to the floor and hold on to my heels. The legs are straight. It looks like it could come into Halasana, into plow pose, but it's not the same, because as I draw my hips and thighs, or hips and butt, back downwards towards the floor, I use my hands to keep my heels also pulled down, and also to straighten the legs. As I push from my inner thighs to the inner heels, the fronts of the thighs lift up, and the buttocks slowly come down. And then you'll bend your legs to come on out. So that's the first variation. A more supported variation would be that you would need to have a bolster, and that you would bend towards the wall, bringing the heels down, and then notice how I have a bolster to support the back body. In this way, I don't need to use my hands on my heels, but the legs have a full extension towards the inner heels, towards the wall. And you adjust the bolster so it comes underneath your back ribs so you can release and relax down like so. To come on out, you just move the bolster, bend your legs, and roll out. So find your pose, choose which variation you're going to do. And once we're in the pose, we'll hold it for about a minute. So lie down on your back, swing your legs over to the floor, bring your hands to your heels unless you're using the variation of the wall. Push your front thighs upwards towards the ceiling and use your hands to keep your heels down and also to push from your inner thighs to your inner heels. And as you exhale, slowly lower your buttocks down. They won't reach the floor. And on your exhalation, broaden into your back body again. Front thighs lift up. Buttocks release down. And extend your legs from your inner thighs to your inner heels. And allow the pose to be in a constant state of change. Readjust the extension of your legs. Readjust the release of the hips and buttocks downwards. Breathe into your back body. Breathe into your back ribs and become broader. And see if you can allow for your breath to even reach into your kidneys. And then to come on out, you release your feet, bend your legs. If you're using the bolster, move the bolster away to the side, and then gently roll out of the pose. When you're ready, roll to your side, coming up. So the next pose is Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, and we'll hold this pose for about between 1 to 2 minutes. I'm going to show the pose this time with the hands at the wall. So the hands turn out, index fingers and thumbs will be at the wall. The feet are as wide apart as the hips and shoulders. I push the hands into the wall, lift the buttocks up and press the fronts of the thighs away from the wall.
Sharpen the extension of your inner arms as you draw up from your inner forearms to your inner upper arms. And then lift from your inner shoulders. Extend your front thighs to the backs of the thighs and your inner thighs downwards towards your inner knees, to your ankles and heels. And then take a couple of deeper, stronger breaths and use your exhalation to draw your chest towards your legs. Let your head and neck release down, maybe to the floor, but certainly don't force your head down at all. And then to come on out, walk your feet slightly forwards towards the wall, walk your hands away from the wall, and then bring your hands to your hips and come on up. We'll take Uttanasana now. The variation that I've chosen today is to once again broaden into the adrenal kidney band here. So I'm going to be using the wall. The feet will be at least hip distance apart. You just have to come in carefully so I don't hit my head against the wall. And then I walk in once I have my upper back at the wall, and then walk in so that I see if I can get as much of my back body onto the wall as possible. The feet stay apart, and you can just let your arms release like so, either outside of the feet or within. To come on out, we'll just walk away from the wall and bring your hands to your hips and come out. Okay. If this is too intense for your back or for your legs, you'll just take a regular Uttanasana with your feet apart or your feet together so that your legs up. Okay. So pick your pose either away from the wall or with your back body towards the wall, and we'll hold this pose for about a minute. Those of you with your back body at the wall, if you find that your head is coming too close to the floor, walk your feet in a little closer to the wall. Press the front thighs to the backs of your thighs. Let the buttocks move as close as you can to the wall. And draw the fronts of your thighs straight upwards towards the tops of your thighs. And then release downwards from your side chest towards the outer elbows, towards the floor. And let your head and neck release completely. With your exhalation, see if you can broaden your back body towards the wall. And let all of the effort in this pose be in the extension of your legs. Keep your legs straight. And then to come on out, you'll walk your feet away from the wall and bring your hands to your hips and come on up. So from this sequence of forward bends that we've done, the practice now changes to some seated twists. I would recommend having a bolster around if you have knee injuries or knee restrictions, and definitely have a blanket and perhaps even a block. The pose that we're going to practice first is called Ardha Matsyendrasana. This is half Lord of the Fish pose. So from Dandasana, have a blanket close by, and you'll bend your left leg into Virasana, and then lift your buttocks up, and turn your left foot to the right. So from this position, your left heel will be facing this way, and the toes of the left foot will be facing the other way. And then you'll place a blanket in between your heel and your buttock. The right foot crosses over the left knee. You can place a block behind you, and then turn to your right side.
If you're using a bolster, and this would be if you have knee restrictions, you'll take the more open variation of the pose. Starting off sitting on the bolster, you'll cross your left leg over to the right side, and then your right foot over the left knee, and then you can take much more of an upright twist from here. So pick whichever variation you're doing. And you'll bend your left leg first into Virasana, and then lift the buttocks up, turn your left foot so that you're more on the outer edge of the left foot. Place the blanket down in between your heel and your buttocks, and cross your right foot over. And notice from the picture here, you can see that my right foot and my left knee are really quite close to each other. The block behind allows for more stability and height. On your inhalation, lift your chest up, and on your exhalation, turn towards the right side. Use the block behind you. You can move it anywhere that allows for you to get more lift and height, but push the block slightly back and down, and get more length upwards through the left side of your chest. Exhale and turn. Inhale and lengthen your left side. From your left side waist up to your left side chest. And as you turn from your left back ribs, pushing the left back ribs towards the left side of your chest. Release and come on out. And then you'll take your other side. Right leg comes to Virasana. And then you'll turn the right foot to face the toes of the right foot facing the left side. Sit down on the blanket and then cross your left foot over your right. Turn to your left side. Use your breath strongly as a tool to move your chest around to face the left side. Inhale and lift, and exhale and turn. Inhale and lift, and exhale and turn. Push the block back and down. Lift upwards through the right side of your waist to your right side chest. Exhale and turn. Inhale and lift, and exhale and turn. Now draw your left outer hip down and get more length upwards through your right side. Exhale and turn. Release and come on all the way out. If you choose, you can repeat Ardha Matsyendrasana to both sides. The next twist is Pashasana, noose pose. You'll take a blanket, and I'll just show, so watch for a moment. Your heels will be up on the supports, and the knees are together. To take a twist to the right, I take my left shoulder towards the left elbow and hook the elbow as low as I can, and the right hand comes to the hip, and I turn towards the right side. Now, if this is too much for your knee, a variation I found helpful is to have a block behind you. The feet in front, and notice that I can push the block back and down, and I push my buttocks slightly off the floor and forwards, and take the turn from here. There's much less strain on the knees for this variation of Pashasana. So choose your pose, choose your prop. And then you'll take your heels up onto the blanket or your heels onto the floor. We're turning to the right side. So lengthen, lift up on your left side, exhale and turn to your right. The right hand goes on your right hip. Inhale and lift your chest, exhale and turn. Inhale and lift, and exhale and turn. Take the bottom of your sternum bone to the top of your sternum bone, and keep your head back as you lift and turn. Come to the center, and then take your other side, reaching your right shoulder down towards your right elbow, towards the floor. Left hand on your left hip. Inhale and lift, exhale and turn. Inhale and lengthen your front body from the bottom of your sternum to the top of your sternum bone. Exhale and turn. And drive your right elbow further and further back to the right side as you exhale and turn to your left. Inhale and lift, and exhale and turn. Now press your heels down as you lengthen and lift your chest up. Exhale and turn. Come back to the center and then release. Stretch your legs out. Dandasana. Have your feet slightly apart. Press your heels down and press the backs of your knees down without raising your heels. Now we come to Malasana. You'll take your blanket back. Make sure you have a block or a bolster for this variation we're doing today. You'll have your heels up on the blanket support. Just watch for a moment and notice how when I take my arms forwards, I can rest my head on the block and my knees are quite wide. So once I have this position in place, I keep the hands where they are and draw the inner heels down, and you'll notice that it pulls the outer knees to the inner knees, making the pose more compact. And then from here I sweep the arms around, holding on to the ankles. I become more compact with the inner heels down. I lengthen from my shoulders to my elbows, also down. And the head can rest on the block, on this medium height, or if you can go a little lower, you can go a little lower. To come on out, you come back to Dandasana. Make sure you come onto the floor for Dandasana. If you're working with knee issues, don't go into the deeper variation. You'll stay with a much more lifted and open variation of the pose. You can even have your feet apart, but you'll take a blanket support underneath the backs of your knees like so. And then you can take the pose like this. If it's tolerable to go a little wider, you can bring your hands to the floor and notice that the arms are in between the legs. So take your pose, whatever props that you need for Malasana. Take your heels up onto the blanket support. Have your feet together. If it bothers your knees, you take your feet apart. Widen the knees to the side as you reach your arms forwards and lengthen from your waist to your armpits and from your armpits to your fingers. And then take your head down onto the block support. Now without losing the length in your side body, start to press your inner heels down and draw your outer knees towards your inner knees. And then sweep your arms around, holding on to your ankles and your heels. Once again, breathe into your back body. And draw your inner heels down towards the blanket. Allow for your inner heels to bear weight on the blanket. Draw your outer knees closer towards your inner knees. And then ever so slightly press your upper arms into your shins and lengthen your side chest forwards. Broaden your collarbones. And to come on out, bring the legs together. Come off the blanket height and take Dandasana with your feet slightly apart. Heels pressed down, backs of the knees pressed down. Okay. Our next pose is Dvipada Viparita Dandasana. This is backbend in the chair. If you don't have a chair, I'm going to show you a variation. You'll just do a Setu Bandha on a bolster. But if you have a chair, turn the chair like so. We'll be holding the pose for a couple of minutes, so you can take a mat onto your chair seat, and you can also do it without a mat. For those of you who don't have a chair, I'm just going to show Setu Bandha from here. You can take a bolster. And notice from here that when I lie back on the bolster, I arc back, taking the shoulders downwards towards the floor. And notice that my head, the back of the head, is also on the floor. Your arms can rest to the side, and you can do this with bent legs or straight legs.
And then to come on out, you'll push the bolster away and roll to your side. So for back bend in the chair, watch for a moment as I sit to the front edge of the chair like so, the side that's closest towards the wall, and lift upwards through the side chest and arc back like so. I pull the elbows down and see if I can get more lift upwards of the back ribs, particularly those lower back ribs that we've been broadening and opening today. In this position, they strongly draw upwards away from the chair. And then one leg at a time, you extend your heels to the wall. To come on out, I bend the legs, bring the elbows onto the chair, and then I lift from the chest to come on up out of the pose. So get yourself ready in whatever position you're going to be doing for this next pose. Those of you on the chair, you'll sit towards the wall side of your chair. Hamstrings are off the back of the chair seat. Buttocks are on. Then lift your chest up and arc back. Slide your elbows off the chair. Slide your hands down the chair legs. And then you'll extend your heels one at a time towards the wall. Separate your feet about a hip distance apart. Pull down onto the chair. Pull your elbows down. Adjust so that you can get more of you up onto the chair and the lower back ribs lift upwards. Press your thighs down and lift your back ribs more. Extend your inner thighs towards your inner heels and see if you can get your inner heels closer to the wall. Pull your elbows down. Use your legs, use your arms to allow for more lift of your back ribs so that this whole kidney adrenal band gets cleansed, gets rinsed out. Press your thighs down. See if you can draw your inner thighs down and your outer thighs up. And use strong breaths here. On your inhalation, reinvigorate the work of your arms and your legs. And on your exhalation, lift your back ribs more. Soften your jaw. Soften your eyes. Now to come up out of the pose, you'll bring your elbows onto the chair seat, bring your feet onto the floor, and then lift from your chest to come on all the way up. And then just sit facing the wall for a moment. Those of you on the bolster, you'll bend your legs and slide all the way back until your hips come to the same level as your shoulders. And then you can roll to your side to come on up. Take a few moments to sit. He recommends at the end of this practice to do a variation, a type of pranayama called Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. I'm not going to teach that now. It's complex. So instead, you can, if you know this practice, you can go ahead and do it. But otherwise, just sit in your chair, turn your palms down onto your thighs, lift your chest upwards, and just very simply close your eyes. The practice that you have just done is an adrenal support practice. The inversions that we practiced at the beginning are always designed to change the flow of stress, of anxiety. And then the forward bend practice was designed to broaden the adrenal kidney band. Relax some of the muscles that often grip around that area. And then when we moved into the twists, it was almost like a wringing out of the adrenal area. The two twists chosen by B.K.S. Iyengar for this sequence are twists that are very deep into the lower part of the back.
And then he ends with a backbend. And the backbend rinses out the area, drawing more blood into the kidney adrenal area. Fresh, not stagnated, not tight or gripped. So with these few moments to just be with you and your breath and your awareness, just observe your state of being. And then from here you can open your eyes and set up for Savasana. You can open up your mat, you can use any props that you need so that you can lie down for a few moments. Always make sure in Savasana that you are warm. When we get cold, it's impossible to relax. You can take a blanket support for your head. You can take a bolster support for underneath the backs of your knees, or you can even put your shins on the chair seat. But wherever you are, just take a moment to lie down. Start off with your legs bent. And organize the blanket support underneath the back of your head. With your legs still bent, press your feet down and lift your hips and buttocks up away from the floor just a couple of inches. And use both of your hands at the area at the top of the buttocks and push the top buttocks towards your heels to lengthen your lumbar spine. When you've done that, you bring your hips back down onto the floor, and then one leg at a time, extend your legs out. Take your feet and legs a little wider than hip distance apart today. Let your arms release to the sides. Turn your palms up. And make any adjustments that you need to in order to be able to stay still for the next few minutes. To stay in a quiet, relaxed place. And begin your Savasana with some long exhalations. And use your exhalations as a way to settle yourself, quieten yourself, and also feel yourself let go. You don't have to force your breath or change your breath in any way. Slow, soft inhalation. And as you exhale, relax your arms, relax your legs. Soften any gripping and holding in your shoulders and your neck, in your face and in your jaw. The exhalation always takes us somewhere we don't know. Surrender to the unknown. your Savasana to become quieter with the waves of your breath. Layers of letting go. I'm going to read a short excerpt from Pema Chodron's book. This very moment is the perfect teacher, she writes in her book, When Things Fall Apart. Generally speaking, we regard discomfort in any form as bad news. But for practitioners or spiritual warriors, people who have a certain hunger to know what is true, these hard moments are actually clear moments that teach us where it is that we're holding back, to perk up and lean in when we feel we'd rather collapse and back away. And this very moment is the perfect teacher. And lucky for us, it's with us wherever we are. Each day we're given many opportunities to open up or shut down. And the most precious opportunity presents itself when we come to the place we think we can't handle whatever is happening. It's too much, it's gone too far. And most of us don't take these situations as teachings. We run like crazy, all kinds of ways to escape. But our spiritual journey involves going beyond this, beyond hope and fear, and stepping into unknown territory, continually moving forward. And the most important aspect of being on any spiritual path may be just to keep moving. We're not trying to live up to some kind of ideal, some kind of perfect place. Quite the opposite. We're just being with our experience, whatever it is. And if our experience is that sometimes we have some kind of perspective and sometimes we have none, then that's our experience. And if sometimes we can approach what scares us and sometimes we absolutely can't, then that's our experience. But this very moment is the perfect teacher, and it's always with us. It is really a most profound instruction. Just seeing what's going on, that's the teaching right there. We can be with what's happening and not dissociate. Awakeness is found in our pleasure and our pain, our confusion and our wisdom, available in each moment of our weird, unfathomable, ordinary, everyday lives. Bend your elbows now and place your hands somewhere on your torso that gives comfort to you. Bend your legs one at a time and roll over to your right side. And then lift your head last of all as you come up to sit.